For 30 years, Mark Reynolds believed he and his wife, Linda, had built something unbreakable. They met young, constructed a home from scratch, raised 2 children, and weathered storms that might have torn others apart. To anyone who knew them, Mark and Linda were the definition of commitment. The couple people pointed to when talking about lasting love. Mark taught high school, Linda sold houses. They weren't rich, but they had comfort, laughter, and decades of shared history. At least, that's what Mark thought. Because sometimes the deepest cracks in life only appear when the light shifts, and one late afternoon, that light did. It began on a seemingly ordinary Tuesday. School let out early, and Mark returned home ahead of schedule. Linda was supposed to be meeting clients, but her car sat in the driveway. Calling her name, he stepped inside. Silence. The house felt unusually still, assuming she was working in her office. He went there, but then he noticed her laptop left open on the kitchen counter. Linda never did that. Curiosity mingled with unease. Her email was on the screen. At the top of her inbox was a thread titled, "Our secret stays safe." Mark's stomach tightened as he opened it. The first message froze him. From David, Linda's college boyfriend, a name that hadn't surfaced in decades. The email was from just 2 days ago. "I can't believe you kept all the letters after all these years." Reading them again, it feels like time stopped. "I miss us, Linda. I always have." Mark's pulse quickened as he scrolled. The thread went back years, hidden behind an alias, messages spanning 15 years. Their daughter had just left for college when it began. A few friendly emails turned into something deeper, a secret relationship that had existed in the shadows of Mark's marriage ever since. Photos followed. Linda and David on a beach, at a coffee shop, even a hotel selfie from a business trip in San Diego. Each image cut deeper than the last. Every anniversary dinner, every laugh, every "I love you" now rang hollow. Not warmth, but deceit. He reached a draft of a letter Linda had written but never sent. "I'll never leave, Mark, but you'll always have my heart. What we have is real, even if it stays hidden." Mark stared at it, the weight of 30 years pressing down. Milestones, quiet nights, family photos, the tiny gestures of everyday life, all suddenly felt like stage props in a play he hadn't realized he was in. He didn't shout. He didn't crumble. He just stood there, breathing in the heavy quiet. 15 minutes later, Linda returned, cheerful, carrying groceries. Her smile faltered the instant she saw him. "Mark," she asked carefully. He didn't speak. He turned the laptop toward her. Her face drained of color. The grocery bag slipped from her fingers. "I can explain," she whispered. His voice, calm but edged with decades of buried pain, finally broke the silence. "Don't. It's been 30 years, Linda. If honesty didn't matter back then, it doesn't matter now." She reached for him, trembling. "Mark, please. It's not what it looks like. I needed to feel something again. We were drifting." "No, Linda. You let us drift. You let me build a life on lies because it was easier than facing what we become." His voice cracked, but he pressed on. "You had 30 years to tell me the truth. You chose not to. Now I'm choosing to walk away." He picked up his coat and keys and left quietly, leaving behind the house they'd once bought with hope. No slammed doors. No backward glances. Just a drive through empty streets, desperate for air that didn't carry betrayal. Eventually, he stopped at the old playground where they used to bring the kids. Sitting alone on a bench, he realized something profound. Love isn't meant to be endured. It's meant to be honest. 30 years, and he'd been merely enduring. His phone vibrated. Messages from Linda, one after another, apologies, explanations, pleas. He didn't open a single one. He turned the phone off and let silence speak for him. The next morning, he called his son, told him everything, told him he'd be okay. He just needed time. There was a pause before his son spoke softly. "Dad, you always said truth matters more than comfort." "I guess Mom forgot that." Tears slid down Mark's face. Not heartbreak, but release. For the first time in decades, he wasn't pretending. Weeks later, letters arrived at his new apartment. The last one read, "If you ever find it in your heart to forgive me, I'll be here." He read it once. folded it neatly, and tucked it away, not to erase the past, but to remember what love looks like when it loses honesty. Years later, friends asked why he never remarried. Mark would smile gently and say, "Because peace feels better than pretending." And that was the truth he chose to live. He hadn't left to destroy a marriage. He had left to reclaim himself.